thanks so much for coming. I'm very pleased to welcome Vivienne, the filmmaker that you've been enjoying. I'm not going to say very much really, except I've never seen paintings which are so open and candid. There's no machinery behind it, it's just all self-evident and joyful, and it's beautiful. So I hope you enjoy it.
I'm very honoured to have been invited to come to open the show in the gallery, and very honoured that Robert and Lucy invited me, and I love Tadhg very, very much. He passed away in 2018, and just a little talk here prepared, I'll read it. My connection to Tadhg goes back to 1980, when I met him for the first time in Henrietta Street. He had a studio, that's in Dublin. He had a studio there along with other artists. And then, not long after that, I was living in America at the time. I was just back home visiting. He turned up on my doorstep in New York. He'd been to Minneapolis and he was traveling around. He was always traveling around. And I met him in New York. And then later he came to live in London near where I was. He had a house on Haverstock Hill that he shared with others, as he could at the time. So, and I used to visit him down on the farm with his two sisters many, many times. And it was like going into another world. It was an entry into a world that I'd never experienced before being with them. Just their whole way of living and their hospitality, but particularly just the way they appreciated everything around them, like all the wildlife and their interest in everybody and in music and in literature and the sort of people that they were. Of course, the paintings were all around me on the roof, on the walls, everywhere. The great big bird over the fireplace he had in the house. So he grew up on the farm in Kilmartra, Cork, with his two sisters, Breed and Mara. He told me he was always sketching and painting even as a child. He would use anything available, paper, cardboard, wood. He spent a year in the late 50s in MCAD, which was in Kildare Street at that time. And when he was living in Siena, Italy, in the mid-80s, he learned about fresco painting. Later in London, he studied woodcut etching and silk screen printing, which you can see in the film actually there in London. That was the time when that film was made. Tadhg painted people, animals, birds, landscapes, urban cityscapes. He also painted portraits. He made friends everywhere he went, and he travelled a great deal in his life, sometimes accompanied by his sister Breed. He was very well read and loved to talk at length about artists. He read a lot about the lives of artists. I've seen him draw a crowd around him in the National Gallery. He would be talking to somebody about Piero della Francesca, and a crowd would gather because he was so enthralling to listen to. And he was so unusual, sort of the way he looked as well, and you just know everything about these painters' lives. He was interested in science, philosophy, literature, and he loved Shakespeare, particularly his sonnets. He was also interested in Blake, Walt Whitman, and Emerson. He was into science and quantum physics as much as the mystics. He held a subscription to the science journal Nature until his death. Tadhg used to say that light was the key to painting, and being true to your own vision was the most important trait in an artist. In the end, I think light is the key to his art, and this light connects to life energy and to the earth itself. He'd speak about seeing something as in a visionary moment, a glimpse of something which he would sketch and then paint at home from memory. It could be anything, a pair of boots, a young girl, a bird. He was also very affected by colour and interested in the science of colour and light. He brought bags of pure colour pigment with him on his moped when he returned from Siena. to Paris and then to London. And again, you can see him with the bags of pigment in the film. Blue cobalt, which is a mineral deposit which is found in places like Morocco. Yellow ochre from the earth, or vermilion red. The titles to his work are Star and To the Point, Dalmatian, Cockerel, Magpie on Line, Man on Bicycle, Bird and Tree. He didn't feel the need for fine details in painting. When younger, he cycled with Breed to many parts of the country, often in early May to the Burn, where they would sometimes sleep out under a bush. He did that. For a while he lived in a mobile home in Great Manor. Later, in the blue van that they had, Breed would drive with them all over the country visiting friends. They just throw a mattress in the back of their van so they have a place to sleep. She was a great supporter of his work. Without her, he would certainly not have had all the shows he had. And she drove him with the paintings to London, to Berlin, to Hamburg for shows. On the farm, Breed grew vegetables to sell to markets in Kenmare and elsewhere. She had a tree nursery for a while and took great interest in photography. She took many photographs of landscapes. The two sisters were famous for their baking and jam making, which I experienced in visits to the house. Tadhg could hold his own in any company. Once in Paris, he was invited to play the part of the ghost of Marie Curie's husband in an avant-garde play. There was no dialogue. He just sat on the stage like a character out of a Beckett play. And the play was a huge success and toured with Tadhg. And the director said he was superb. Tadhg was at home in the city as much as the country. In Siena, he learned fresco buono, a technique where pure colour pigment is applied to wet lime plaster. In the 80s into the 90s, he shared a mansion on Haverstock Hill in London. The walls of his tall ceilinged room were covered with paintings. He painted frescoes on back garden walls and on the wall of my son's bedroom. I lived in a tower block in Swiss Cottage at the time. It was a beautiful painting of cattle and a field, like just such a contrast between that fresco and the building I was in, you know, although I had a lovely view over Primrose Hill. And he painted in Primrose Hill as well. People recognised Tadhg as someone special and were drawn to him. He believed utterly in being true to himself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else. He didn't care about material things. He believed there was more to life than physical reality. He was aware of being connected to something larger than himself, and he felt the interconnectedness of all living things. This permeates all his work, which I see as visionary and profound. There are artists who are not understood in their own time. I believe that Tadhg McSweeney's work will someday be there for a wider public, will be appreciated and recognised. Thanks very much.